I'm Oral Hershiser, and I am on the Blue Review. Hey, this is Sean Green. You're watching the Blue Review.
Welcome to the Monday morning edition of the Blue Review presented by LAX. I'm Marcas Grant. That's Greg Bergman. Happy Monday, man. Interesting weekend that we'll get into.
It was a very interesting weekend, and I can't wait to hear all of your thoughts about how it all went down. But what's going on, man? Welcome back on Monday. It's opening day on Thursday.
Thursday. So what's today's Monday? Some Tuesday, Wednesday. 3 more sleeps until opening day. And then we're ready to go officially for the 2026 season. Couldn't come sooner. I think we've grown tired of talking about what might be and whatever roster permutations there may be. Now it's time to actually just play some baseball. So looking forward to that. Before we get into it, though, I want to let you know that the Blue Review is powered by LAX. We're taking off. Learn more about all the incredible changes happening now at LAX by going to lawa.org/ESPN. So, yesterday, it was just a Sunday. I took my son to the Natural History Museum, which is one of his most favoriteest places in the entire world. And
very cool place.
Very cool place. You know, I've learned to enjoy walking around there and stuff and looking at the dioramas of the animals and the dinosaur skeletons and all that kind of stuff. While I was there, my the watch here on my wrist was buzzing because I was getting text messages. Now, mind you, look, I'm in multiple group chats that sometimes get a little feisty, a little excited, and so I can get hit with a barrage of messages. So generally, if that's kind of what I think it is, like I saw a couple of them early. And then the whole thing got rolling, and I'm like, all right, look, I'm doing stuff. Like, I'm not gonna check in with every single message that I get. But after a while, I'm like, I should check just in case maybe one of them is the wife and she needs me to do something. I should just let's just make sure that I'm not missing anything that really is crucial to the moment. So I open it up and I see you texting about something called X Banana. And then a couple of texts later, Jeff Spiegel has put in multicolored graphs and charts that I'm assuming were supposed to represent Alex Freeland versus Haesung Kim, maybe? I was gobstopped, to say the least, in the bird hall of the LA County Natural History Museum.
What did I sign up for this time? I think I was good.
And I was amused. And I also love the fact that you and Jeff are going back and forth about advanced stats and the usefulness of them, especially in terms of player evaluation and prediction. You guys are going back and forth. Meanwhile, Anthony Witrado is just stirring the pot. Just throwing gasoline on the fire and sitting back with a big bucket of popcorn, enjoying the whole thing. I was like when I got home and I sat down and scrolled through it, I was amused. I was even amused actually in the moment, but at some point I'm just like, all right, I'm going to keep looking at dinosaur bones and then I'll figure this out at a later date.
So basically, we have a group chat with Marcus, myself, Anthony Witrado, and Jeff Spiegel. It's called Blue Review. And just talk Dodger baseball. And Jeff Spiegel is somebody that absolutely loves every advanced stat, and he makes all of his opinions based on these advanced stats, and they're so important. And I was just saying, look, man, I get it. I get that that's what you like to look at, and I think there's a place for all of these, for every single stat, but I'm not going to base my opinions based upon your X Banana. And I just started making up names for things. There is no X Banana, just by the way. Don't go on Baseball Reference.
You know what?
X Banana.
I bet you within a couple of years, somebody will come up with an X Banana stat just because.
I'm sure they can. We can probably figure out what it would mean too. But the idea was that I'm not going to make my opinions. I can look at, Teoscar Hernandez when he's going through a slump and he's hitting a ball and he's hitting the ball hard, but it's just hit right at people, that eventually that's going to fall. And that's where he said, well, that's just hard hit percentage. And I get all of that. But the fact is, I'm not going to come onto the Blue Review and just spout off all these nonsense stats that nobody really fully understands, because they all mean so many different things and can lead you in any. You can make any narrative you want outside of based off of stats. And I'm not going to be the one to do that. If he wants to do that, that's totally fine. I think there's a place and time for almost all of those stats. It's just, and I get them. I understand them. I'm just not going to use them in my analysis on a day-to-day basis, because I think that just turns people off. And you in the YouTube chat, you can let me know if you want me to get deeper into X banana, X war, XY 375. I can probably figure that out for you, but I feel like the way we talk about the Dodgers is on a more is not getting too much into the nerd stats. There's a guy, Paul DePodesta, if you remember, he was with the Dodgers for a while. He was a part
we remember Paul DePodesta.
He's in Colorado now. He got kicked out of the league and started running the Browns, and that didn't work at all because he got so deep into it, and that's just not the game at the same time. They all mean something, but you can't base everything off of that. And so we were going back and forth. And it was basically, I just felt bad for you because I knew that you were going to look at your phone and be like, why do I have 500 texts?
I looked at one point and it was like 50 something. I'm like, what is happening here? By the way, X Banana would be batting against night adjusted numerical averages. So there we go.
Did you make that up? Or
I was literally just working on that as you were talking about stats and stuff right now. I'm sure somebody can work that out. Side note, although you mentioned Paul DePodesta, can you imagine being the organization that looks at how the Cleveland Browns were run and we're like, I want that guy.
That's what I want.
We want that guy to come and help save us. So what I did basically after going through most, if not all, of those text messages was you guys did sort of come to some sort of tenuous agreement that basically what Jeff is doing and what a lot of people are doing with the advanced stats are sort of putting a numerical value to the things that we see. Because even as I was walking around yesterday, like after I checked in and saw kind of where the conversation was going, I did in my head think about it. There's only so many times you can look at a diorama of an elephant without your mind just sort of wandering. And you and I think are of the same mind about this, that there is a place for them. There is a value to them. I think on some level, it's mostly a curiosity. Like I think for the average person, getting deep into spin rates is not, it's just not whatever. No. But what that does, what WOBA and all these other things quantify, whiff rates, hard hit rates, all these things quantify is what the average baseball fan can see. And that's, do you put the ball in play a lot? Do you hit it hard a lot? Do you get on base a lot? Because fundamentally, and I know that we don't look at and talk about batting averages the same way we did 15, 20 years ago, right? When I was a kid, it doesn't have the same sort of pizzazz to it. But in the end, the game of baseball is still the same. It's get on base, get runners over, drive them in, and so however we slice that pie now and however thinly we slice that pie to examine it, in the end, I think the advanced stats are pretty much just saying what we're all really talking about, just in a much more scientific way. Yeah. And
by the way, WOBA, if you really want, is weighted on base averages.
Yeah.
it kind of weighs, like home runs are more important than doubles. They're more important than singles. And it really weighs that, like how, if you produce runs, it gives you a little bit extra. Like it's an advanced stat that really the average person, including ourselves, there's only a certain few people that are going to really look at that and go, oh, his WOBA is really, really high. Like that's the reason that Alex Freeland got on instead of Ha-Seong Kim. And it may be that one stat may be part of the reason why Alex Freeland is a starter, is on the roster and not Ha-Seong Kim, but that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah. And as Sherry points out in the chat, all the advanced stats in the world don't explain the Angels walking like 7 dudes in an inning.
And also, his whole argument too was that he wants to say like a future predictor as well. He uses them as a predictor of things and not just of what happened,
right?
What's going to happen, and then but even all the advanced underlying stats are not going to tell you that. They actually last year, all the advanced underlying stats told you that Michael Conforto was going to figure it out. Guess what Michael Conforto did? He figured it out. So
that's kind of when I jumped in. I think like the first thing I saw was Michael Conforto, I win. I'm like, okay, great.
That was my winning argument right there. So, you can show me all the stats you want about how great he's going to be or how he's going to figure it out. Guess what? The guy didn't, and we were talking about it from the very first day he signed of like, hey, this guy is not the guy, and he's not going to be good. And he proved it the whole way. He's like, no, Conforto's going to be so good. Yeah.
That was admittedly one of my fun arguments between the two of you last year was Jeff like waiting for the Conforto moment. And at some point, understanding Jeff knew it wasn't going to happen, but him continuing to push it if for no other reason, just to irritate you. So that was fun.
The other argument that I wanted to get into, sorry, Marcus.
No, it's all good. All good. Yeah. So here's the thing. And I will say this and we can drop it and move on. Well, actually, I guess we can use it to move on to where we want to go, which is I think when you look at predictive stats and deep analytics, and I obviously I look at them too on the football side too with the NFL and fantasy football and that sort of thing. I think the thing that I come down to is that it helps you predict a range of outcomes. And for the guys who are really good, like if you look at Shohei Ohtani's metrics and predictive stats, the range of outcomes for Shohei is pretty narrow. Like he's going to be really good unless something really weird happens. Michael Conforto had a wider range of outcomes. Now, the range of outcomes for Alex Freeland versus Hesong Kim, I would imagine, are generally fairly narrow, but for whatever reason, Dave Roberts, Andrew Friedman, and all the people in charge there at the Dodgers felt like they could get a better range of outcomes with Alex Freeland on the major league roster starting on opening day versus Hesong Kim. I will tell you that I think you and I were surprised. I think even if you asked Jeff Spiegel, I think he would tell you that he was surprised that that's the decision that they went with. But now that that's what's happening, what happens with Alex Freeland? What happens with Hesong Kim? How does this work?
So from everything Dave Roberts said, and by the way, Dave Roberts is a liar, so we kind of take it all with a grain of salt, and that's one of my favorite lines to use, by the way. But he said that he's going to give Alex Freeland a long runway. He wants Hesong Kim to be in the minor leagues and to play every single day. That is kind of nonsense to me because he would play basically every day against every righty. There's more righties than lefties, so and then Miguel Rojas is the split there. So he was going to play a decent amount. It wasn't like it's not going to be that many more days in the minor leagues. Either way, they feel that Alex Freeland's at bat quality was better than Hesong Kim's. That being that number 9 spot, that secondary leadoff guy, he is going to walk more and he is going to get on base more often because of that, because he's more patient at the plate, whereas Hesong doesn't walk very often, but he seems to get on base. If you look at just their stats in spring training, I mean, it's not close. It's really not close at all between Hesong Kim and Alex Freeland. Hesong Kim was a much, much, much better hitter than Alex Freeland. He had a 414 batting average. I mean, I'll just really quickly, I know we don't talk too much stats, but Alex Freeland went 5 for 45 for a 111 with a 300 on base percentage and a 222 OP and a slugging percentage, whereas Hesong Kim was way better, and he had he was 11 for 27, 407, 448, 519 OPS for a 967 OPS. Like, that's really good numbers. But he struck out 8 times and he only walked 1 time. So the fact is that they want Alex Freeland's at bat quality, knowing that what Hesong Kim did last year came off and was just great right off the top. He was getting on base all the time, hitting like 420, and then when stealing bases and doing all those things, and then when it fell down a cliff. And they feel that Alex Freeland can stay steady at that bottom lineup until Tommy Edman can come back. And they're still tweaking Hesong Kim's batting stance and how he hits. So they wanted to give him more time down in the minor leagues. I don't like it. Maybe you do, but Alex Freeland is going to have to prove he's not the guy he was last year.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it, I guess, is kind of where I come down on this whole thing. And I think especially when you look at the two players involved, whether it's Freeland, whether it's Kim, they're going to be hitting at the bottom of the lineup. And I think being able to consistently get on base, to consistently have quality at bats is going to be a key feature of whoever's in that spot, because your job is to pass the baton to the guys at the top. It's to get the inning, to get the game back to Shohei and Kyle Tucker and Mookie Betts and on and on and on. So you don't want a guy who is, prone to striking out, maybe not getting as many walks. So I think that has something to do with it. Now, look, whatever runway or leash or whatever it is, they're going to give Alex Freeland. And I'll say this, I believe it because we've seen Dave Roberts do this, usually with veteran guys, right? Yeah. They gave Michael Conforto a long runway, in part because guys kept getting hurt. Like they couldn't move on from Conforto just out of necessity. But they gave Chris Taylor a really long leash, a couple years ago, before it was just painfully obvious that Chris Taylor was not going to make it happen. They gave a long runway to Tanner Scott to try and figure things out until it just became untenable. So, and I'm not saying they're going to roll with Alex Freeland through September, but I do think they're going to give him enough at bats to really get a good look at him and let him sort of sink or swim on his own. But it is going to be necessary for him to figure out how to get on base, whether he's hitting the ball, whether he's drawing walks, what have you, because your job is to sort of be kind of a second leadoff hitter. Like, you want to get on base so that Shohei Ohtani gets pitches to hit, so that he has runs to drive in. And I think that in the end was kind of the difference as to why Alex Freeland's going to be in LA and Ha-Seong Kim's going to be in Oklahoma City.
I agree. That's exactly why they're going to do it. But Alex Freeland, like I was saying, he has to be better than he was last year. Yeah. Last year when he came up, he had every opportunity to stay with the team, be with it long term. When Max Muncy went down, he was the guy that they brought up, and he disappointed. He was not good. So last year, he was 16 of 84 for a 190 batting average. His on base was below 300. His slug was just above 3. Every number that you were looking for him to show that he could do it just didn't happen. Now, we talk about his walking, how much he walked versus how much that he struck out. He had 13 walks to 11 strikeouts. So he struck out almost as many times as he walked to. So that's really not helping all that much. Now, maybe some things have changed. He was hitting the ball harder in this spring. I just need to see him to do a little bit more. I will give him he's not going to be my villain right off the top. He can't be at the level of villain because he's Alex Freeland and he's not going to be around that often. He's going to go back down to AAA as soon as Tommy Edman comes back up, unless he just goes absolutely bananas. I
mean, I was waiting for you to dip into his BABIP or something like that. One of those advanced numbers that could help, maybe
I can
explain it a little bit.
The BABIP for you if you'd like.
Well, you're a FIP guy though, right?
I am a FIP guy. I like FIP. I like FIP because it tells you how a pitcher is pitching and just taking out what happens in the field. So it's just him. Basically, it's fielding independent pitching. So It's saying what your ERA should be based upon what you're throwing and what you're doing, instead of what happens in the field around you. A guy not throwing to the right base or an error or whatever it happens to be that causes your ERA to go up. So I like that stat just because it shows, okay, well, if you have like a 2. Your ERA is around 2, but your FIP is around 5, means you're not pitching very well. But if your ERA is around 4, but your FIP's around 2, you're just getting kind of unlucky in the field. So that's
FIP or no FIP. Tyler Glasnow was really good last night.
Oh, he was really good.
What was it 8 strikeouts or something like that? And
it was 11.
11 strikeouts.
It was 11 in 5 innings.
Something like that. I mean, he was just lights out. Now, some of it possibly could have been the guys wearing the red on the other side of things. That might have had something to do with it. But nonetheless, and I believe most, if not all, of the strikeouts were on the curveball last night. Just looked filthy. And if there's one thing, there's a lot of things to be encouraged about with this team. But man, the starting rotation, at least the guys at the top, look like they are ready to go. We saw Yamamoto in his most recent spring start, his final start of the spring, just absolutely dealing. We saw Tyler Glasnow shove last night against the Angels. Emmett Sheehan has very quietly been great. I caught a game earlier this spring against the Cubs, and for whatever reason, it was like the Cubs broadcast. I think it was on MLB Network, but the announcers there were like, hey, look, everybody talks about Yamamoto and Glasnow and Ohtani and Snell and what have you. They're like, Emmett Sheehan very quietly had maybe, one of the more consistent years of anybody in that rotation. So, people around the league recognize Emmett Sheehan for what he is. It just feels like the rotation is ready to get going right now, which is a very far cry from what it was this time last year when we were just begging anybody to get us through 4 innings, please.
Yeah, just anybody whatsoever. By the way, I didn't realize that all 11 came on the curveball. I knew he was hitting his curveball over and over. I just didn't know that all 11 were on the curveball. So a lot of that has to do with the team in red not being able to pick up a pitch. But either way, he looked great yesterday. Love it. I think Sheehan he's struggled towards the back end of spring, but he's a guy that he's happy with where he's looking right now. Roki and Sheehan are the two that you're kind of like, okay, they need to be a little bit better. But Yamamoto, Glasnow, and Shohei are going to be Yamamoto, Glasnow, and Shohei, and then you get Snell back at the end of April. So the rotation, I'm not too worried about the rotation early on. I just am excited if Glasnow looks like this throughout the whole season. That's what I'm excited about. It'd be really.
That's going to be great. So we will see how this works out. But we're just a couple more days away from things getting going for real. We got another edition of the Freeway series again tonight. 6:10 is the first pitch against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. So we can.
Is it Shohei on the mound tonight? No, it's Sasaki.
It's Roki. Okay, so it's Roki on the mound tonight. So that's a good spot for us to kind of start to, unless you want to dive into our bat plus or
I would love to. I think I could really do a really nice job with that since Jeff's not here. But what I do want to get into tomorrow with you, Marcus, there was another thing that went back and forth a lot in our group chat.
Oh yeah, we didn't get to that today.
So I want to get this tomorrow just to tease it for everybody. Over the weekend on Foul Territory, Alana Rizzo, Eric Kratz, and Annie McCullough decided that they wanted to have a discussion about whether or not Yoshinobu Yamamoto was an ace or not. Would you consider Yoshinobu Yamamoto an ace? 2 said no. 1 said yes. We'll get into that tomorrow.
Stay tuned for more.
Nonsense.
Who said yes?
Nonsense.
Find out tomorrow on an all-new Dragon Ball Z. All right.
It was Alana Rizzo. Alana Rizzo, the only smart one in that room, decided to say that she was.
That was kind of my, I saw the video, but that was if you had told me the 3 names, that's the one I would have assumed anyway. But, anyway, that'll do it for this edition of the Blue Review. Thanks everybody for jumping in the chat and arguing about walks and WOBA and all that kind of stuff. I saw some Tanner Scott references in there too. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Anyway, stick around. The Sedano Cap Morning Extravaganza coming up next here on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. Shout out to Carlo for getting us up and on, and production assistant on this one this morning for Greg Bergman, Marcus Grant. It's been the Blue Review presented by LAX. See you tomorrow, 6:30 to 6:55 here on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. Yeah.